Hey everybody, it's Ashley and welcome back into my city-state kitchen. Today I'm making some onion top pesto. This is normally kind of a byproduct of harvesting onions where a lot of times they just get discarded, but I'm going to be making some pesto out of them. Last year was the first time I did it and it turned out fantastic. You may have heard me say this before, but I'm not a big fan of raw onions. But the onion flavor in this is surprisingly mild. I was surprised that it wasn't more intense than it was, and so I am here back making it again, except this time instead of using the onion tops as I harvest my onions, I've actually been on a new way of growing my onions this year where I kind of prune them a little bit. And so this is the first time that I have cut them off. They have just been growing since I planted them, and I cut off everything except about 6 or 7 inches on all my onions and shallots. So I guess there's a little bit of shallot top too, but the rest of it is just onions. And then we're gonna just put in some toasted walnuts, a little bit of lemon zest, olive oil, garlic powder, salt, and Parmesan cheese. And then based on how things turn out after the initial sort of mix together, we'll just adjust to taste in the salt and lemon juice and things like that. This is a super fantastic way to reduce waste from gardening, or even if you buy green onions in the store but only prefer to use the lower portion, you can use store-bought onions too. At least this does not have to come from a garden. This can also be made from garlic scapes if you grow garlic or are able to get those from a local farmer or a farmer's market. Just swap out the quantity of onion tops for garlic scapes. And just like any other kind of pesto, you can use it on as like a topping for a pasta or on a meat like a chicken. You could also use it just as snacking, which a lot of times is what we end up using it for. And we can't forget that onion tops are greens, and that's a really good source of a lot of different vitamins that tends to go overlooked. Also, you can add anything you want to this too. In fact, I was thinking about adding a little bit of fresh basil because I have some in the fridge that I bought for something else, but maybe I'll just stick to the original recipe. I haven't decided completely yet, but you can certainly substitute out some of the tops for any kind of herb that you would like, or just add them in. You can really just make it your own. So as a way to just have an awesome snack that's really summery, also saving some of the otherwise waste from our garden, let's get things mixed up. So even though I did harvest these tops today, I wasn't completely sure if I was going to be able to get to them. So I just went ahead and threw them in my fridge just in case. I wanted to try to keep them as fresh as possible. But they didn't even have time to completely cool down. That's how quick I was able to get to these. And as I picked them and kind of cleaned them up, I did try to keep off any parts that looked a little less desirable, or maybe like a bug had been going at it. So I think what I have here is pretty clean already. And I think what I'm going to do is just give these a quick rinse before I chop them. And this bag is practically brand new, so we'll go ahead and wash it up and reuse it. Now when preparing these tops, just really a rough chop is all that's necessary, because we're going to throw these into our food processor. And you can use a high-speed blender if that's what you have, or a regular blender. Doesn't really matter too much. We basically just want to make them small enough so we can kind of measure them. I just kind of wanted to rinse my original bowl and then also dry up my surface because my rinsing kind of made a little bit of excess water. So let's see what we have here. And this is just rough. I'm using my liquid measuring cup. It's just, doesn't have to be perfect. One. Okay, I better get one more of those same size. Yeah, all right, I'm not even gonna do it. Okay, so let's call that about the equivalent for one recipe. I'm doing maybe 6 to 8 cups of tops. You know, I kind of packed them in there a little bit, so I'm guessing I have a lot more. But my measurement is definitely kind of like a good packed measurement. I just about forgot that our walnuts were toasting, but I just pulled them out and they actually look perfect. Nice even toast, nothing too dark. Good to go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this added right into our food processor. And it's gonna be a lot. Maybe I'll grind a little and then work it in. I know this will all fit. At least I think it will. There's a possibility it won't. But I'm usually a pretty good judge of volume. So let's see what we can do here. That's gonna work down so nicely. And you know what? A little bit of water from my rinsing actually is probably helping with that in there. Just kind of get it going. Okay, so here's a question I have for you. I just washed up the bowl that I had these onion tops in. Are you the kind of person that likes to wash dishes as you go or when you're all done? I'm definitely the kind of person that likes to wash as I go. It doesn't necessarily always happen, but that is highly preferred to the other method, in my opinion. You may have also seen how I choose to zest. I don't like using the zesting parts here. I really just like to use the fine grate. So as you can see, when you grate it, it doesn't end up quite like it would if you were to grate like carrots or cheese or anything like that. It's actually pretty fine, but it's definitely not as fine as a true zest. And you know, the other reason why I'm not too concerned about the fine zest is because it's gonna get chopped up a bit in the food processor. For my Parmesan, I'm gonna go ahead and grate it on this fine side too. I could do the bigger one because again, it's gonna get mixed up in the food processor, but I think I'll just start with smaller chunks. And we're gonna go for maybe, I don't know, half, 3/4 cup, we'll see. That looks like a perfect amount. We'll see how it goes. And let's go in with all the rest of our ingredients. Add the cheese. I'm just gonna go ahead and add all of it. Our toasted walnuts. There's still kind of warm. It's about a teaspoon of salt. I always measure that one by hand. So I'm not using fresh garlic, but you certainly can. I think I'm gonna start with maybe like 3.5 teaspoons. That's something we can always adjust later as well. Okay, I'm gonna add our olive oil now. I think I'm gonna go a little lighter on the olive oil. I find that you can easily scale this back because, I mean, it's delicious, but it becomes so rich. I'm gonna start with 1/2 cup, and hopefully that'll be good. All right, let's get this blended up. Okay, we just gave this a try, and a couple of things. I think that there's plenty of olive oil, plenty of garlic. I think the cheese amount's good. I'm actually gonna add a little bit of lemon zest, and I think I'm gonna add in some basil. I'm really glad that I have this basil around because I think that's just gonna give it this, just this depth. And it doesn't even have to be a lot. I'm just gonna throw these kind of just roughly torn right on in. Okay, and then I'm gonna also add just a little bit more salt. I really like salt, and this is a really good salt. You guys, I can't even tell you what a huge difference that makes to add that basil, a little bit more salt, and then the lemon juice. It's like it took it from it's okay to it's perfect. Like, it's so good. So smooth. Done. Completely done. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in these 1/2 pint jars. I do have a lot of wide mouth pints available and clean right now, but I think I like to have this pesto in a little bit of a smaller container, just so that if we didn't want to go through a lot, we don't have to. I really like using wide mouth 1/2 pints for stuff like this too, because those make really good, easy to get into containers. And these freeze really well. These 1/2 pints have straight sides, so I don't have to worry about them breaking in the freezer, which I really like. Okay. I might take a little bit out of this one. Projects like these, this is also a really great way to use old canning lids. So even though I don't keep all my old canning lids, I definitely try to keep some around, especially if they're in better shape. This one probably needs to go. It's got a few dents, a lot of rust. It would be pretty wasteful to use brand new canning lids for something like this, but this is perfect for old ones. Thank you for coming along with me today as I whip this together. It's super quick, super easy, as you saw. And then after the recipe is completely done, just adjust to taste. For me personally, I'm gonna make sure that I automatically have those adjustments built into the recipe. So I'm gonna update mine today to add in, I'm guessing that was maybe about 1/2 cup of tightly packed basil, maybe 3/4 cup or of a little looser packed basil. A little extra salt. I think I might add maybe 1/2 teaspoon to the recipe, and then make sure I add at least the juice of 1 lemon. And I could probably get away with just the zest and juice from 1 instead of zesting 2 and only using the juice from 1. I put the unjuiced lemon in the fridge because of course we can use it for something else, but I think I can probably cut that down to just one and use the whole thing. So those are the adjustments I'll make going forward, and I have it recorded. I know I made adjustments last year, but I didn't write them down. So this year I'm definitely gonna write them down, because when my onions are ready to prune back again, I'm gonna make some more of this. So if you'd like to see more of what comes out of my kitchen, please consider subscribing, like this video if you enjoyed it or think that it might have some value for you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon.